In each Screensaver episode, we introduce a mainstream film or TV series in which some aspect of the Christian gospel is revealed. Sometimes there's an explicit reference to faith, more often there is not. In any case, none of the shows present itself as an exploration of a biblical text or of an element of the creed. Not so with 8Beats Anthology, for this is a production based upon the so-called Beatitudes. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus blesses different groups of people: the poor in spirit, those in mourning, the meek, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers, and those who are persecuted because of righteousness. Jesus calls them blessed, claiming that they will find true happiness. 8Beats Anthology consists of 8 short films made by different cineasts with very diverse styles. The stories are completely independent of one another. The only thing that connects them is the beginning of the 5th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. Each short film is about one of the 8 Beatitudes. 8Beats is an initiative of the American organization Catholic Creators, where Christian artists gather to work creatively based on their faith. This is from their mission statement. We believe that every one of us is called to create. It's who we are because it's who God is. We believe that God is calling His church to a culture of rebirth and creative energy, a new renaissance in Catholic culture to renew the world through the Catholic imagination. Catholic Creatives is a community, an ecosystem, an ecology where that creative culture is being birthed every day. End of quote. One of the creative children of this community is 8Beats Anthology. The 8 cineasts were completely free in their interpretation of the single beatitude they were entrusted with. The result is a wide variety of subjects: drug addiction, migration, sex trafficking, funeral service, and transgender issues. At the start of every short film, we get to see the relevant verse of the Gospel. It's not always that clear, though, what the actual link is between the story and the verse. The short films are not an illustration of the Beatitudes, let alone didactical material to teach about them. They're artistic creations, providing us with images to engage in a dialogue with the 2,000-year-old Beatitudes. The first image of Simon's agony, the third of the short films, is a sculpture of an angel in a church. The statue is weathered and peeled off. It's dated. That's how many people experience the church and what she has to offer. We need new images to shape the old message. The main character, Simon, is an artist, and we witness his laborious attempts at creating a new statue of the crucified Christ. Nothing is easy. He barely has the means. His health is fragile. The Archdiocese is not committed to paying for the work yet. But there is this formidable passion within this man, whom we see working in his studio but also participating at Mass. A striking feature of the film is that Simon doesn't say a word. He is completely focused on his creation and doesn't participate in the secular issues around him. Even when his Christ sculpture is destroyed, when it gets thrown out of the window, he remains silent. Moments later, we see him back at work, attending to the pieces of the broken Christ. Knowing the passion of Jesus, it's clear that the first name of this artist is not a coincidence. The story goes that on his way to the place of his execution, Jesus falls several times under the weight of the cross. Luke says, "As the soldiers led him away, they seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way in from the country. and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. About this Simon from Cyrene we know nothing, just that he was there and that he got to carry Jesus' cross. Like our Simon in the film, he doesn't say a word. He is part of something that is much bigger than he is and that is weighing on him. Simon from Cyrene doesn't seem to get anything out of carrying the cross. Our Simon is not enjoying the creation of a new version of it. The title Simon's Agony says it all. This short film is linked to the beatitude, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." When I was young, I thought that with this group, Jesus meant the mentally challenged. But that's not right. In the Bible, poor in spirit means those people who are willing and able to put themselves aside for a higher cause, even if they can't completely grasp it. Someone like Simon. In a similar way, biblical context helps understand the first short film in the 8Beats anthology. Claire McKenna is about a young woman suffering from a heroin addiction. We witness her being arrested and paroled. Back home, she might get in trouble again when a parole officer knocks at her door just as she is retrieving some heroin she'd stashed away before her arrest. She knows if the officer finds this heroin, she will be incarcerated again. In this tense moment, flashbacks tell us parts of her story. Particularly interesting is a conversation with the caregiver during her stay in a state facility. How are you going to change your life? She wants to know. Claire tells her about a dream she's had. She's in a dark cellar in the house of her parents. She's alone and she's really scared. On the top of the stairs, there's an open door, light shining through it. But she doesn't go up. In the cellar, there is a dark hole filled with black water she gets into. Remarkable, isn't it? Wouldn't you climb out of the scary cell towards the light? In the dream, Claire lowers herself into the dark water and she discovers that she can breathe this water. A sense of rest engulfs her, deep rest. And then, still in the dream, she hears a voice. She doesn't understand the words the voice is whispering. Gibberish, she calls it, and yet she knows perfectly what they mean. Little girl, wake up. Claire is clearly touched as she tells this to the caregiver who asks her how the dream made her feel. Claire's answer expresses what every person in need wants the most. I felt seen and important and small in the best possible way. Back in the present, the parole officer is about to discover the heroin as he turns around and changes from a tough official into a caring father figure. I'll come back next week, he says. Claire is saved. And now she runs up the stairs, takes the heroin and holds it in a spoon over a flame. Watching this, you want to scream, "No, don't, save yourself!" And then we hear the gibberish from the dream coming out of her own mouth. 2 times she says, "Talita kum," and then "wake up." In the blink of an eye, she throws away the heroin and the short film ends. Talita kum is not gibberish, it's Aramaic, the language Jesus grew up in. Mark's Gospel tells us that Jesus used these exact words to the child of a Jew who turned to Jesus for help for his dying daughter. When Jesus arrives at the house, the girl has died. Mark writes, "He took her by the hand and said to her, 'Talita kum,' which means, 'Little girl, I say to you, get up.' Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around." Claire McKenna is a resurrection story of a young woman whose life seemed lost because of her addiction. What's remarkable about this story is that salvation was only possible because in the dream she didn't run away towards the light upstairs, but she chose to lower herself into the black hole. Apparently, if you want to grow, you need to accept the dark and scary side of life. Embrace life as it is, addiction and death included. That's a necessary step towards finding the key to new life, being seen, important and small in the best possible way. You have to be strong to recognize your weaknesses. You have to be great to accept being small. That is the meaning of "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." 8Beats Anthology is not a blockbuster. The vast majority of movie lovers will never get to watch it. But I must say that I'm grateful for this project and for other Catholic creators' initiatives. More or less a century ago, a gap grew between the world of art and the world of the church. And that's a real pity. It's a blessing that today cineasts use their means and their language to participate in building a Christian imagination once again. 8Beats Anthology. Worth watching.